Scrappy people, Tracy Reed here today, coming at you with a challenge. Well, I'm challenging myself. So I have this one piece of paper from the Cocoa Daisy Koi Pond collection, and I was making a blog post or at least a layout for a blog post about using your scraps. And since I don't actually have a lot of scraps yet for this collection, I decided to use the one scrap I did have, which was this piece of paper, and repurpose it into something else. Use it for the whole layout. So what I've done is I've cropped it into stripes, like paper strips with the stripes, divided the yellow and the blue onto two different pages. And now I'm going to add in some messy hand stitching with some black thread to really help this page make an impact with just this one paper. I don't even know at this point what I'm going to do with this page. I just had this idea to make this background and I wanted to see what would happen. So I'm just going to add in some messy hand stitching. I added the holes to the paper in advance, and I'm just going to stitch all the way straight down. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to add in some zigzag stitching and some X stitching messily across the page. Just messy is the name of the game. I like to completely embrace messy stitching because I can't stitch straight or well to save my life. So if I just go with it and make it as messy as possible, I'm gonna like it. So I actually tied my hole on the front so that I could have some string hanging on the front to make like little string nests for visual interest too. So I'm going to repeat the process on all four of my lines, adding in X's and zigzags everywhere throughout the page. I'm tying this one on the front too, but this one was a mistake. I should have left it longer, so I just have like this weird little string hanging out that I end up cutting off later. But you can see I have done the same thing on the blue side of the page. I'm just finishing up the X stitching right here. You can see in the background the extra string and extra zigzags and all of that stuff on the background. So then what I did was I let this sit for the night. I finished my stitching and then I came back to my to be scrapped photo folder and tried to figure out what would work well with this page. And actually what was on my mind was this feels like a comparison, right? You've got red and blue, you've got matching on both sides. So it felt like I needed some sort of comparison shot. And so what I have here is a set of photos from January of this year that I did not know how I wanted to scrapbook yet. And so this is going to be perfect. This is actually like my mom was dropping off some birthday presents for my January birthdays, but we were sick and we weren't sure if it was the Great Panini or not, because this was before you could, or before we went and got tested. So because her husband is immune compromised and all of that, they had to stay outside, and you can see that we are masked up. We are staying very far away from each other. So she took a picture of us, I took a picture of her, and it just felt like a really good comparison shot for this photo. So what I also decided, or for this spread, what I also decided to do was to really dig into things that I didn't think I would know how to use in this collection. So the Koi Pond collection has a lot of koi fish in it, which is not really a motif that I would use a lot in my scrapbooking. So what I decided to do was to lean heavily into these koi fish. And so the way that I was thinking about this was twofold. One, I really like that just go with the flow word art to match the fish, because that's kind of, you know, it works for this theme. And also the whole idea that we were like in our own separate fish bowls, like we had to do for, you know, throughout the pandemic. And so the theme sort of worked with the theme of the photos really well in my mind. I'm going to tie it in with my journaling, which I will do off camera. But my goal was to use things in this collection that I might not use otherwise and to make them work. And so I think that oftentimes when we get a collection, especially when we have subscription kit collections like this one, sometimes we'll get a theme that doesn't quite mesh up with the way that we scrapbook. And because it's a subscription kit, right, you get the theme and you are then, you have it. And so now you have to use it. And so this Koi Pond collection, even though I love the colors, the motifs of this collection was one of those sort of rough collections for me. And so I really wanted to embrace what I was struggling with when it came to this collection. And it was especially the fish and just the whole vibe of like, it's just so mellow and really calming, which worked really well in my planner, but for my typical scrapbook pages, not so much. So I was really excited to sort of take that theme of using your scraps and apply it to something that might end up becoming a scrap later on down the line if I couldn't figure out how to use it. So now you can see that I am bunching up the string, sticking it underneath the sticky fish to hold it down. I'm actually going to go in eventually and I'll take the stapler and staple everything down once I have the threads bunched up and the fish where I want them. I'm not loving those fish meeting in the middle at the top there. I thought I would like it, but it was not working out quite how I wanted it. So I'm going to actually move those fish, and I'm not going to leave these bubbles on here. I actually end up doing it off camera at the end, but what I do is I take those bubbles off and I'm going to use enamel dots on top of each of the fish as their own little bubbles, and they're going to be a little color coordinated with the stripes that they're sitting on. So I turn that fish around. I'm still not sure if I love it, so I'm going to instead frame it over here. I just felt like those fish needed to be separated a bit, even though there would be separation with the rings as far as like distance wise. Visually for the design, they were just too close together. So now I can bunch up that string underneath that fish anyway. All right, so I like that better. Now I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible, but I'm going to add in just a couple of things here and there, like this little heart I'm going to put with the rest of the red bits over here. I'm trying to keep everything color coordinated, plus this helps to stick down that messy string. But again, I'm going to come in and use a stapler to make sure that everything stays down, because the string is going to compromise the stickiness of the sticker, which aren't very sticky to begin with, so I want to make sure that everything stays down. Alright, so now I'm going to add in some stamping to the top of the page after I get this photo. I just wanted to add this like little photo. So it said fish photo in my brain, which works for the theme of the page. And I also need to stick down this string. I'm just going to shove it right underneath the photo, which I actually have popped up on Pop Dots. So it works out. I need to pull up the Pop Dot though, so that it can go right underneath it. Perfect. I just want everything to be sort of messy and crazy and really accentuate the stripes of the paper. So I'm going to add in the snippets from today, and I'm going to add some ghost stamping too, just to extend it vertically a little bit. You can see where I added in the lines for my journaling that I will eventually add. So I'm just sort of trying to make sure that everything is evenly matched on both the top and the bottom. I'm going to add in some of these staples, trying to figure out how to get it in there. And then the last thing that I'm going to add are some puffy stickers directly to the photos. So I like the title Stay There, but I find this puffy sticker over here that says hello. So I'm going to add that here in a second. First, I'm going to add the heart that I'm going to pull up. Okay. So then I'm like, oh, I see this hello, so let me pull this up. And so the title is going to end up being Hello, Stay There, which I think works out really well for this page. Hi, I see you, but please stay outside so that nobody gets sick. But I'm going to stick that down in place of this heart, which I will just move over. And then I'm going to call it good. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you gave it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. Oh, adding a little comma with the scraps. You can find a link to Cocoa Daisy in the description box below, and I will see you next time. Thank you.